What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Reviewing a bit of a weird one today. You may have noticed that I've got two playlists on my page. I've got the horror etc. playlist, and the non-horror playlist. And this is a movie that could really go in either, to be honest, because it is kind of horror related in a way. It's got a lot of horror concepts in it. I'm probably going to put this on the horror playlist. It's Natural Born Killers, directed by Oliver Stone. It's based on a story by Quentin Tarantino, and it stars Juliette Lewis, Woody Harrelson, and it features a supporting cast that includes Robert Downey Jr. and Tommy Lee Jones. So essentially the plot of the movie sees Juliette Lewis and Woody Harrelson play Mickey and Mallory Knox. I'm going to have trouble saying that quickly, who are a couple who both have quite tortured pasts, difficult family lives and upbringings, set out on a murder spree. Over the course of their 3-week rampage they kill over 50 people, and that essentially takes up the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie they're apprehended in prison. In this time there's been a bit of a media storm over Mickey and Mallory Knox. They've become celebrities, they're quite idealised, the media made them superstars, as the tagline says. Robert Downey Jr.'s character, whose name I've forgotten, is a fame-hungry tabloid journalist who's partly responsible for making them famous, who goes in to do a television interview with Mickey Knox. The day before it is decided that he and his wife will be transferred to an insane asylum. The interview is broadcast on television, the prisoners watch it, and it causes a riot, which Mickey and Mallory use as an opportunity to escape, basically. Now, I've got to say, Natural Born Killers is an interesting one. It's really a satirical movie. It's about kind of the idea of killers being idolised and made famous and being sort of celebrities in their own right. I guess the kind of first example of this would have been like Charlie Manson. It's that kind of idea of, you know, the media pays such attention to these characters that it kind of breeds them in a way. It's kind of the suggestion. It's that thing of like, oh, moral corruption, quick, look at the moral corruption, look at it, there it is, look at the moral corruption. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? Don't look away, look at the moral corruption. And that is a really interesting idea, and it's the sort of idea that needs to be, and has been explored a lot in horror, but I feel like it's an idea that needs to be brought up more of. You know, ultimately, you know, no one was ever convinced to kill by fucking Friday the 13th. They were, you know. But what effect is kind of the news idolising and, you know, placing so much emphasis in what serial killers do? What effect could that have? Another interesting thing is the way that the movie's shot. It's kind of the film has got a very mixed media kind of approach. Like there's parts of the movie feel like a sitcom. The I Love Mallory part is kind of set up like a sitcom. Parts of it are in black and white, parts of it are in colour. There's animation. There's parts that are you know, clearly on sets that are made to look a bit theatrical. There is parts that are shot on location. It's a real mix. And one of my favourite things about the movie is that pretty much every shot is on an angle like that. I might leave the camera like that. Fuck it, I'll put it back down. But, you know, that's illustrated my point. And it's got this whole weird aesthetic that makes it feel a little bit like you're kind of flicking about on the TV. And the ending of the movie really kind of ratifies that even more, because it almost makes you feel a little bit like you're kind of experiencing the kind of idealisation of these people the same way that their kind of fans do, I guess. This film feels a little overstuffed. You know, there's kind of two distinct halves. You know, there's the prison half and then the sort of road movie half. And the movie does end up feeling a little bit bloated. It's just under 2 hours long. Not massively over long, but it does feel a little bit like there's potentially some fat that could have been trimmed from it. I'm wondering if maybe going for a sort of Reservoir Dogs style approach and having the whole movie been kind of starting off in the prison and then kind of jumping back to, you know, their the start of their relationship, and when their spree started through to them being apprehended. I'm wondering if maybe that would have been a more interesting way to construct the movie than to just have it be a straight up chronological narrative, because it does end up, when that year is skipped over, it does end up feeling a little bit, the movie feels a little bit bloated in that sense, I've got to say. I think overall the most important thing about Natural Born Killers isn't the fact that it's super violent, which is obviously great, but the fact that it makes quite a witty comment on society. And I wonder if maybe the fact that it makes such a witty comment about society was part of the reason it was so controversial. Maybe the fact that this movie was kind of, at the end of the day, it's just a movie, but it is just a movie about the media idealising these killers. It's a movie that kind of is critical of the concept that movies are responsible for violence. The history of violence is older than the history of film, and if there's anything that the sort of more censorious amongst us want, it's a scapegoat, and it's kind of ironic that this film would in its own right become a scapegoat. The irony of seeing this film being blamed for the Columbine high school shooting is just too delicious, to be honest. I mean, overall, it's a really well put together film with a really interesting visual style and really good performances, and a really interesting story. Like I say, it does drag in places, but overall, it's definitely a really cool film that I would recommend you seeing. I'm going to give Natural Born Killers an 8 out of 10. I do think this is a movie that is well worth seeing, if only for kind of the wittiness of its message. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Luke Innes. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe, all of that, but also please do check out my podcast. There's a link to it in the description. It's called Ironcast, and it's all about music of various forms. So yeah, please do go and check that out. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen.